wondering if you were into the comics before you entered The Walking Dead, or if you did it afterwards.
I was aware of the comics. I mean, my friends all told me I should read these, and I just never got around to it. But then when I got the job, I bought all the compendiums, and I read them like crazy because Robert Kirkman had laid out these beautiful blueprints, not just for the show, but for our characters. So I took as much information as I could from these comics, and I put as much of that into the character as I could. I stopped reading around the time that Glenn died because I thought I was learning too much about where the show was going, so I stopped there. But I think the comics are incredible. I really think Robert and his team did such an amazing job, and I loved them so much.
Some things think that the series should have finished sooner. Do you think this is? What's your opinion about that?
I think, I mean, from a selfish perspective, I wanted it to keep going for a long time because I felt like there was still a lot of story to tell. There's a lot of people, I think, who felt like the storylines were getting similar to previous seasons. But I feel like we ended at the right time. I mean, season 11 was kind of less about the zombies and more about like a spy thriller. It was like more of a political spy thriller than it was a horror show, and I think that was a cool twist for a show that's always been known for its jump scares and for its gore, to focus more on the worst villains of that world being the humans and not the zombies. I think that's a really compelling storyline, and I mean, there's obviously going to be years and years of spin-offs. The Rick and Michonne, the Daryl and Carol, the Maggie and Negan, and probably other spin-offs down the road. I think there's been 6 spin-offs already. So that's incredible. I mean, we're talking about 300 or 400 episodes of TV that have kept a lot of people employed. And I think it's wonderful that the show has kind of taken on new life, like Star Trek or Star Wars, where it could literally last for decades,
Bom, ele comentou, gente, do Robert Kirkman, que é o criador de The Walking Dead. Ele também é o criador do Invencível, que é essa animação do Prime Video, que ele também dubla, né, Paulinha?
É, e a gente quer saber se eles... Enfim, se é coincidência ou não, né?
Se eles são amigos ou se realmente
aconteceu por acaso
dele fazer ali, né, dele estar em The Walking Dead e também dublar o Invencível.
And I've definitely grown a lot closer to Robert, ironically, since working on Invincible, because Robert was more behind the scenes on The Walking Dead. He would still pop into set every now and again, but we didn't get a chance to really get to know each other all that much, honestly, until we started working on Invincible together. And every time we do a recording session, I did one last week, and he's always on the Zoom calls. He wants to be involved in a way that he wasn't really as involved on The Walking Dead. But I love it. I mean, I think he hired half of The Walking Dead to be in Invincible. I mean, people forget that Glenn plays Invincible, yes. Maggie, Abraham, Morgan, Tyrese, Sasha, myself. There's like literally 12 Walking Dead actors in that. And I'm just grateful to be working with him because I think Robert is one of the most creative storytellers working today, and he's got a very twisted mind, and I say that with all kindness. Like, the things he comes up with, it's just extraordinary. I mean, he really has this wild imagination that he pulls from all the time, and I'm really very grateful that he's given me as much work as he has, because I think he's really on the cutting edge of some of the best storytelling on the planet.
You do several characters in the Invincible.
I do, yeah. I do about, I think, 12 different characters on the show. Yeah.
It's a lot.
So it's intense, yeah. Initially, it was just supposed to be...
But how do you do that? Do you record just one, or you record one and another, and you switch it? How do you do that?
We used to do it, like, there's several scenes where I'm talking to myself, so I'd be Immortal talking to Rudy, and he'd ask me to go back and forth, and it got way too confusing for my brain, so we just do all the Immortals lines and all of the Rudy lines and all the robot lines are all Aquarius, and then that keeps it more clean in my head. I think switching back and forth too fast muddles the work. Yeah.
So you do like separate now.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
It's easier.
It is much easier. Much easier, yeah.
Vamos falar de X-Men agora, porque ele dubla o Professor Xavier, e o Apocalipse no X-Men 97. E no caso do Professor Xavier, o Patrick Stewart viveu o personagem no cinema e o Cedric Smith já havia feito a dublagem. Então a gente quer saber, tendo essas referências, se foi mais fácil ou mais difícil fazer esse trabalho.
I think it was, the pressure was very intense for me because that show is literally the original show from the 90s is the reason I became an actor in the first place.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like Wolverine, who's played by Cal Dodd, did such an amazing performance conveying the pain and the suffering of being this kind of immortal character who never fits in anywhere. And I got picked on a lot when I was in middle school and high school. I had very bad acne, big glasses and braces, and I got picked on a lot. And I think that I saw myself in the character of Wolverine. I was like, I get this guy. He makes sense to me. And I thought if I could do that one day, that's what I wanted to do. And so getting a chance to play both Xavier and Apocalypse now for season 2, it's a dream come true. But I'll be honest, even now, after having worked on that for 3 years, every time I go into a recording booth, my heart just starts racing because I realize that this is forever. This is a very important to a lot of people. So I want to give it my best. And I'm so thrilled to be a part of it. I mean, I if you gave me one line on the show, I'd be happy. But getting a chance to play the leader of the X-Men and also the X-Men's biggest enemy, Apocalypse, it's a dream. It's honestly a dream. Yeah.
And how about the fans, the X-Men fans? More lovers or haters?
Definitely more lovers. Oh. Yeah. I mean, X-Men fans are a special breed. I mean, they are, and I consider myself one too. I mean, they are the most loyal and excitable fans on the planet. They really are. Like, they consume as much content of the X-Men as they possibly can. And there's been so many different variations of X-Men since 1963 when it came out. Originally, it was meant to be kind of a commentary on the civil rights movement in America. So Malcolm X was Magneto, essentially, and Martin Luther King was Xavier. So that's kind of what they've been saying the whole time. It's always been about, progression and civil rights movement, and now it's, kind of taken on different meanings and iterations too. But there have been so many versions of X-Men since 1963. It's part of our historical canon now, and I think that getting a chance to meet X-Men fans who are like outside of, just talking to people at coffee shops and meeting people who are like, I like your work. I'm like, I love the X-Men. Like, we get to bond over it. And it just like, it's the most fun feeling, it really is. It's great. Yeah.